can't benefit. But we can see how we can slice according to responsibilities and age as well. If these are mature people already working, running families, if each can get 200 million,
they can go.
They can go. This one, if we can give her 500 million to start a home, 300 million for a business, much as she has the young children, life can continue. The administrator comes and says, I'm the administrator. The best we can do is rent this house. So others are not seeing how they are benefiting. So it becomes tricky. He's taking a permanent role instead of saying, how best do I divide the property of the deceased to see that every person who is entitled to benefit, as the law stipulates, gets their percentage. And I think this is where we've seen problems. That many of these think they should now be administrators forever. You know, the widow says, well, me, I'm here with I only need money to start a business. I can get money and buy somewhere cheaper. But for you stand and say, no, no, no. You be where you are. Let's build rentals around so that you can get revenue, some money. The others are saying, but now for us, how do we benefit? We are all equally children. I think there's lack of sensitization.
Yeah, I really agree. And especially that aspect that as an administrator, you need to sit down, especially with the larger family, and be able to agree that, okay, with this particular piece of property that the deceased left behind, what are we going to do with it? Are there less privileged people among the beneficiaries? In most cases, there are always less privileged people. They're still school-going children. This particular property that he left behind, this business, let the proceeds of that business go to these children. So it needs to be a combined consensus. Much as you're the administrator, you need to be able to get a lot of consent from the actual beneficiaries and family of the deceased. Because like I said, an administrator may not necessarily be a very, very close family relative of the deceased. You could be a cousin, you could be an uncle, you could be a brother, you could be, let's say, a best friend of the deceased. So the reason why so many of those situations come in is because of greed. People want to own these properties. They want to see, how can I make a quick killing out of the deceased property? Now, what most people don't know is that the people who are now awake about these situations, once you know that there's a fraudulent transaction which is coming up, you can actually move to put a caveat on that particular transaction or an injunction on it. You can say that, okay, we are aware that this administrator has ill intentions for the late estate, one of his pieces of property. He's moving to sell it right now. Let us apply very quickly. Let's get a lawyer, make an application for an injunction. Now that injunction is going to stop that particular transaction from taking place. The sale of that particular, let's say, piece of house or car or something, until we can finally resolve how that piece of property is going to benefit the beneficiaries of the late estate. So yes, I agree there needs to be more and more sensitization about how these things go about, because most people die without leaving wills behind, unfortunately. They die leaving their estates in chaos.
Many fear to make a will.
Actually, majority. People are making, there's a friend of mine who works in a law firm and told me that a gentleman at 92 just woke up and said, okay, you know what, I've lived my life, I want to make a will. But he can barely walk. They are carrying him on a wheelchair. But it's when he decided to make a will, and it's because he suffered a stroke and he noticed that, okay, any day I could go. Let me make a will and so that I make sure that I leave my estate proper. Yes, so for people who are out there, it's important for you, it's imperative that you always make a will. Always ensure that you visit a lawyer, you make sure that he guides you on how to make a will. You may definitely need to pay him to make for you, him or her to make for your will, so that you do not leave your estate in chaos. Letters of administration are a very lengthy process, like I already explained, and it is not something to get, by the way. Sometimes you can be denied a certificate of no objection or letters of administration. You may have to prove more for you to get those letters. Even for you to move from the level of being appointed an administrator from that first meeting, it may not go through. So it's quite a lengthy process, and even after that, it's an even more lengthier process to distribute the property.
Yes, yet if you left a will, everything is very clear.
Yes.
But also with a will, you just talked about an implementer. What did you call that?
An executor.
An executor, that if
Yes.
you're making this will, you must put someone who is going to ensure that all this happens. Now, we are still looking at how to acquire letters of administration, that is to ensure that, yes, you've gone to be with your ancestors. For us, we go to be with the Lord. But when you get there, but the people, yes, you know, the people believe they're going to meet their ancestors. I don't believe in meeting my ancestors.
Me too, I don't.
I believe in meeting Jesus Christ.
Unless you meet them in heaven.
My Lord and Savior. But ancestors, if you rest in peace, I'm not coming to meet you any day. Now, because how am I excited to meet people I've never seen?
Yeah,
Even
you've
those
never
I
met.
saw, what if they were very...
They were not nice people.
What if they're not nice people? And I come to meet you, not me. Me, I'm meeting Christ the Lord, the author and beginner of our faith. And now, we want to ensure that we don't have what we are having today. Let me tell you, many families have gone divided. They were working together, they were brothers, they were sisters when their parents were around. Because of property, you may think you have little, but because of property, they are divided. Pangas come out, swords come out, verbal artillery, all these things, to the worst, African chemistry comes in. Just because of these small things.
And that's why we have issues, and you see that's why the law comes up with acts like the Successions Act. The Successions Act, as amended, because it was recently amended, that the Successions Act is what comes in to fix these kinds of issues. Because they realize that people are killing themselves because of property. Which property they are going to leave behind? Now, when it comes to these letters of administration, they are stated under Part 29. Okay, the different acts have different parts. The first part will maybe talk about maybe how families should be governed, children, what. But that is how acts like a Successions Act comes in to clearly lay down the process and the procedure for how things like letters of administration can be governed. There are also instances which will state how a will is supposed to be written, how a will is supposed to be governed, who can actually make a will, who can be an executor, those kinds of things. So that is why we have, that's why we have everything compressed in these acts. Yeah, acts, regulations. So all of these are to govern human nature and society, because they know that human beings, we have a high propensity to kill each other, especially when it comes to issues of money and property.
Well, we cannot go home any further because of time, but before I let you go, what is your final remark to Ugandans regarding letters of administration, but also about property that we leave when we finally go to meet the Lord?
Well, my final remark is that, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Ugandans, it is important that when you start your working life, always try and get to know what are the aspects of the law which govern me, which govern society, and which govern how I'm going to live my life during my lifespan and after, when I go to the great beyond, when I go to meet my Creator. Now, it is important for you to know that when you work, you're going to start amassing a lot of money, a lot of wealth, a lot of property. But you're also leaving behind children. For those who may be fortunate enough to already have children, who are planning to have children, know that there is life after you. You're going to die, whether you're a mother or a father, you're going to die without leaving any sort of document which has stated that, okay, I know that I have about 12 pieces of property, including buildings, including bank accounts, including money. But it's also good to be open to your children and to your family. Tell them that, you know what, my 10 children, I have this and this and this and this. And Bob, you're going to get this, Bill, you're going to get this, and I'm going to put everything down in a will. But in most cases, the law prefers that a will is left sealed and and it's only me who knows the intentions of what I want my will to have. So always ensure that you're open with your family, but even still, even if you're open with your family, please have it put down in a document. Be able to visit a lawyer, ask them to be able to explain to you what are the aspects of the law, what does the family, what do family laws say, what does the Succession Act say, how can I distribute my property equally so that everyone can be able to get these pieces of property that I have amassed. Because the moment you're going to leave a will, the moment you're going to die without leaving a will behind, you're going to live a lot of chaos, and you may find that you've reached heaven and you may have 2 other children who have joined you after some time because they have been killed because of property. So before you get to the point of letters of administration, please ensure that you leave a will behind. It's properly executed. Make sure that it's ironclad. It is put in trusted hands. By the way, for those who may not know, you can leave a will in a bank, you can leave a copy in the bank, you can leave a copy with a lawyer and one other trusted person. So it's not that you have the will behind and then you hide it under the bed, no? There are actually some institutions that people have kept their wills in banks or with their lawyer or any other trusted person. So if you find that your deceased person, maybe your father or your mother, your grandfather or brother or husband or wife has died without leaving a will behind, you can now start to apply for letters of administration. And yeah, life will be incredible.
Well, that's all that I had for you this morning. Well, very important to notice that we all live and die. But what happens to the people you leave behind? Ensure they have a safe landing and peaceful stay despite your demise. I
also, just one more thing. For those of you who might not know, I have a legal platform on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube where I give free legal advice to the general public. My platform is called Simply Legal by Terry Kahuma, where I simplify the law for people creatively.
Okay. See you tomorrow, God willing. Have a lovely Monday.